What's up, everybody? Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis, Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right, Gunner, the NFL put out their top 100 list, which they do each and every year. You can check it out, NFL.com. It's on there if you want to take a look. But big news from an Eagles standpoint is Jalen Hurts voted number 3 overall on the list, behind only Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson, which does slightly sting a little bit if you're an Eagles fan. Justin Jefferson, number 2 there.
Let it go, Rob. It's in the past.
Just say.
Let it go, Rob.
I know. I have to move on. Stop looking in the rear view. No.
Jalen Rager's gone.
I know, but I Justin Jefferson, I get a little like, I feel a little like a little tinge. Okay, but anyway, but no, Jalen is number 3.
I will add this though, Rob. I will add this real quick. Just think if the Eagles had made the right move and grabbed Justin Jefferson with Jalen Hurts last year. Now, I love Devontae Smith and AJ Brown. Don't get me wrong, but Justin Jefferson and Jalen Hurts.
Oh my!
Just, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw it out there. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's Tuesday, man. We're all trying to get through this together. You're hurting us, Derek.
I apologize, bro.
I don't appreciate that. All right. So here, let me give you the Eagles who made the list. Okay. Jalen's number 3.
Yep.
Number 22, AJ Brown. It's a nice spot for AJ.
Yep.
Jason Kelsey, number 37.
Yep.
Lane Johnson, number 41.
Okay.
Hassan Reddick, number 48. Darius Slay, 65. Devontae Smith, 100. Okay. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 Eagles in the top 100.
Not bad.
The only one, Derek, that number 1, I think I would have had Bradbury
ahead of Slay.
Ahead of Slay. I would.
I agree. I agree.
So if I'm looking at a slight, he's probably the only one that I would say. I think this is relatively fair for the most part. I don't.
I think Bradbury, when you look at his numbers that he put up, and you look at some of the other cornerbacks that made the list, I think he should have been on there as well. I think he should have been there ahead of Slay. He was more consistent than Slay all season long, and he played at a high level all season long as well. Slay, Slay's got the name out there, and, sometimes, let's face it, these things are popularity contests. A lot of times it's hard to get. I always love telling the story. Our former friend, Rachel McCallie, who was a producer.
NFL Films.
She's great. NFL Films. She's one of the group that has to go around to different NFL camps and get players to vote on stuff like this, and how difficult it is just to get players to pick up the voting slips in the locker room and just cast votes. So you wonder how many votes. The first thing when I see these lists annually is how many players voted.
Right.
When you think about the NFL brethren is a brethren of 1,700 players. I'd like to know how many of them voted, first of all.
That's a good point.
Obviously, there's some favoritism involved, as well. But when I look at this list, this is a pretty doggone good top 20. Now, we can argue all day about jockeying for positions, and there's a couple players outside of the 20 that I thought should be in that top 20, like T.J. Watt is one of them. He was 27. When he's healthy, he's as big an impact player as anybody outside of name Aaron Donald, on the defensive personnel that made the top 20.
That is recency bias that he was hurt last year. You know what I mean? If he's healthy, there's no doubt he's way higher on the list. But I agree with you.
But outside of that, I can't argue with the names that made the top 20 list, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, here, let's go through it then. Mahomes is 1. Nobody's arguing that. Justin Jefferson, I'm not arguing that. Jalen, then it's Nick Bosa at 4, Travis Kelce at 5, Joe Burrow at 6, 7 is Tyreek Hill. Josh Allen is 8, Micah Parsons is 9, Chris Jones is 10, Aaron Donald's 11, Josh Jacobs is 12. I do like that they're giving the running back some love here, and they're not just burying running backs. Anyway, he's at 12. Devontae Adams is 13. Trent Williams is at 14. That's the only offensive lineman or offensive tackle ranked higher than Lane Johnson. I would have Lane higher, but the only one higher than him is Trent Williams.
Yes, Lane Johnson should not be sitting there at what, 41?
41. To me, he's like in the 20s far as
the guy who's not given up a sack in 2 years.
Yeah.
Yes, I think he deserves more respect than what he got in that regard. Yes.
Absolutely. Fred Warner is 15. Stephon Diggs is 16. Max Crosby, 17. Minka Fitzpatrick, 18. George Kittle, 19. And Myles Garrett, 20. I don't have a lot of complaints here. I got to tell you.
I can't complain. Kelsey was the first center on the list, if I'm not correct.
Yeah.
He's the first center, and rightfully so, future Hall of Famer. Lane should be higher. I think Reddick should be higher.
Yeah, a guy who had 16 sacks at 48.
Yes, he should be higher. Slay, I mean, you can debate that all day, and I think Devontae Smith should be higher. I think Devontae should be maybe, in the 80s.
Yeah.
He's still building a name for himself. I think maybe in the 80s at the very, very worst, instead of 100. But he cracked the 100 entering his third year, so you can't argue that.
You know the way this works a lot of times, and no greater example than Jalen Hurts. Like Jalen Hurts had a pretty solid 2021 season.
Right.
And I think started to get himself on the map, even though he wasn't in the top 100. And then, of course, he blew it out last year. But I think Reddick, even though he's had 3 straight years of double-digit sacks, didn't really come on the map until this year. I think he has another season where he's at like 15-ish kind of sacks. He's going to be higher than this. He's definitely going to be higher than 48.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's unfortunate he had to bounce around to get what he's gotten, but that's still phenomenal. Some said when he was in Arizona, he was playing out of position. They moved him around. Same thing about Carolina. Here he comes here. They move, they toy with him or experiment with him early on. Then once they settled in and said, here's what you're going to do, he took off from there. That's phenomenal. 3 back-to-back years with double-digit sacks like that. You're right. I think he cracks the top 40 easily next year if he has another season similar to what he had this past.
And I don't feel like, sometimes guys get the opposite of what I'm talking about here, just get voted in on reputation.
Yes.
All these guys performed at a pretty high level last year. Every single one of these guys.
Well, Aaron Donald kind of, tapered off because he got injured. But still, Aaron Donald is Aaron Donald. Until further notice, Aaron Donald is still Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
He is the elite of the elite when it comes to D tackles, the most disruptive D tackle in the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's second to none when it comes to Aaron Donald. So I'll give him that. I'll give him that caveat there. I'm looking at all these other players on the list. You're right. They're all impact players. I think Minka Fitzpatrick arguably is the best safety in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Hard hitting, sure tackler, smart. And that's one thing the Steelers do, man. Some teams always find their quarterbacks. Steelers always find that one safety.
Yeah. Oh, they do. You're right.
But it starts with the linebackers, but they always find that one center fielder, man, somehow, some way. They made the trade and got him in there, and I tell you what, he has been everything you expected him to be and then some.
Yeah. I maybe the only one, Derek, that is Josh Allen number 8 worthy off of some of the turnovers that he had last year?
No.
That's one I think you can maybe argue.
I would have Travis Kelce and Joe Burrow in front of Nick Bosa. I would argue that point.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. Yeah, the other thing that jumped out at me, like I'm looking at this list, and the Raiders have 3 guys in the top. Where was Crosby?
Crosby was 17th.
Okay, so they have 3 guys in the top 17, and they're not a playoff team. Like, what's going on there? I mean, they have Devontae, Josh Jacobs, and Max Crosby.
Well, all 3 of those players were in the top of the categories. Josh Jacobs was the NFL rushing champ. Okay. Devontae Adams, another 100-catch season. He was like in the top 5 or 6 in receiving.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby was outstanding.
No, I love them all. I'm saying that team should be better than they are with that kind of talent.
You know what? I would also say I would put Tyreek Hill in front of Travis Kelce and Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Tyreek might be my number 4. Mm-hmm. I think he's the most dangerous receiver in the game.
He is. That's the other thing you talk about, and certainly Travis is a guy that you game plan for. But the first thing you do when you're talking about the Dolphins is, all right, how are we handling? What are we doing with Tyreek Hill? What are we doing to minimize him? He's going to get his. He's getting his category. How do we just minimize the damage that he does to us?
Yes. And you look at the catches he had and the amount of yards he had per catch. I can't talk about this enough. I can't think of another receiver in the game today. You double team him. You put a safety over the top of him. You still cannot stop him.
Mm-hmm.
If your quarterback has time to set up and pat that ball 2 or 3 times and wait for him to clear, you cannot cover him. It's like Deshaun Jackson back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Deshaun Jackson, if the quarterback had time, Deshaun Jackson was going to get by. It didn't make a difference how many people you put on him.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is a faster version of that.
And he stays healthy.
And he
stays a bigger
healthy.
version. Yeah.
You know,
no,
so
I agree with you.
I might put Tyreek after Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. No, it's not crazy to put him that high. I agree with you. All right, let's look at the at 11 through 20. Mention Aaron Donald. I'm sorry, we did that. Let's go 21 through 30, Derek. You curious where that falls?
21 through 30, okay.
Yeah, because we gave you the top 20. So we'll run through the next grouping here. And again, you know, there's the good thing from an Eagles standpoint is I think they're pretty decently represented here. But all right, let's go through it. All right, number 30. I'll work up. Derwin James.
It's a bad man.
Yeah. He's in the midst of a 4-year, $76 million extension. He had 2 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, 115 tackles. And you know, we'll play an old school style. He'll hit you. Sometimes he'll get himself in trouble, but he'll hit you.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
But you know what? That's a psychological warfare there.
Yeah.
You know, when he lays the lumber on you like that, I guarantee you, everybody else with the ball is looking to find out where he is.
No doubt.
You know, so he'll take a penalty every now and then to prove his point. I'll tell you what, though, man, I tell you, that dude can play on my defense any day of the week.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. He's an impact guy. I'm not arguing Nick Chubb at 29. 1,500 yards last year. Has had at least 1,000 yards in every season except his rookie year, where he only missed it by 4 yards. He had 996.
Yeah,
he is a very consistent player and has been throughout his career since coming out of Georgia.
No question. I might have had him a little bit higher. I might have had him at 25, 26. But you know what? The fact that he made the top 30 and the dude runs harder. What, he had 300 carries last year, 1,500 yards
He's
rushing.
A workhorse.
He's a workhorse. How long can his body hold up? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, what that's going to look like after 30, that'll be interesting. Dexter Lawrence, who is a stud for the Giants for sure, along that defensive line, defensive tackle. He's a guy who will get to the quarterback. He had 7.5 sacks. He had 70 pressures last year as well. That's the second. PFF gave him the second highest grade among interior defenders at 91.6. He's another one who got paid 4 years, $90 million, but he's very, very good.
You know, and I don't think he gets a lot of notoriety that he should, because he's been playing on a losing entity for so long. But you know what? He's a heck of a player. You're right. And obviously his peers recognize what he is, but he doesn't. When you start talking about names around the league, he's not a name that's just part of a general conversation around the table.
You think about it, like D tackles don't get other than Aaron Donald don't get enough love anyway.
No, I agree.
And you brought this up, so we'll just revisit TJ Watt at 27. I think a lot of that is he only played 10 games last year. He still had 5.5 sacks in those 10 games. The year before, 22.5. But he's got to be able to stay healthy. You know, he's a little bit undersized, and you do worry about that as his career goes on. But 5 straight Pro Bowls. This guy is ridiculous.
I tell you what, undersized, 22.5 sacks. I'll take him.
I hear you. No, I hear you.
And I do think he should have been higher. But again, I'm sure he dropped because of the lack of games he played. But you look at his career. Look at the amount of double-digit sacks he's had coming off the edge. He's nowhere near big as his brother, JJ.
Right.
But look at the impact he has on games. There are games when he's unstoppable.
I agree, and it's not just sacks; it's hurries, it's hits, all that. Jair Alexander, very well how good this guy is. He is. He was a little banged up in 21 when he missed 4 games, I think, but bounced back big time. 5 picks last year, 4 tackles for loss. He's a guy you just don't throw against. 14 passes defensed, just stud, just flat out stud. 2 straight Pro Bowls for him.
This kid, you talk about big talker. If I was a coach, I would tell him, would you please conserve some of that energy so you're not tired out in the fourth quarter? He is a nonstop motor, press coverage, playing off. It doesn't make a difference. He can run with just about every receiver in the game. Lightning fast, ball hawk, definitely a ball hawk. Anticipates greatly. At 26, he's about right where he should be.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll pick it up. We don't really. There's not a lot to say about Derrick Henry. The guy's been the model of consistency. Even being a little bit banged up, he still puts up massive numbers. He had 1,500 yards, fourth time he's hit at least 1,000-yard mark, 13 more TDs. It's just a matter of how much more can he give you right at this point. But still a beast. Roquan Smith, great trade by the Ravens.
Yes.
Get him from the Bears last year. Just another big year. He does everything: 3 picks, 4.5 sacks, passes defense, 169 tackles, which is the third most. First team All-Pro, Pro Bowler. This guy, he can just flat play.
Big time impact inside linebacker. And basically the Ravens got him for a steal. I love everything about his game, except when he wore that Chicago Bears uniform. But man, I tell you what, he is probably one of my top 2 or 3 inside backers in the game today.
Yeah. 23, a lot of respect for the rookie Sauce Gardner. He, just a big time impactful rookie year. Gave up just 1 scoring TD. Pass defense 20, which means they're not throwing his way. And, rookie of the year. So what else can you say? Just an unbelievable season.
If you ever get a chance, read the story. This great story Sports Illustrated did on him last month. Great story about what drives him, what motivates him, people he's trying to help, what he really wants to do more than just being a football player. And you look at what he's already accomplished as a rookie. Sky's still a limit for this young man.
Yeah.
I love his game. Fearless, man. Fearless, great technician. For a guy who's a rookie to be technically sound the way he is, dude, they don't come along like that. Most of the great ones you develop a year or 2 into their career.
Yeah,
this dude hit the ground running as a rookie, already playing at a Pro Bowl level.
He was just ready. He was NFL ready. He was plug and play, and there was nothing you had to do with the guy. Just amazing. All right. So beyond that, I mentioned AJ is 22.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler is 21 for the Chargers. Kind of a do-it-all guy. 107 receptions, and can run the ball, and 13 TDs. Et cetera. He is the ultimate Swiss Army knife. Can do whatever is needed for them.
Well, Christian McCaffrey part 2, but I thought at 21 that's a little high.
Yeah,
I might have had him in the 30s. Mm-hmm. It's not a disrespect to him. I just thought there were more impactful players who should have made it ahead of him. I would have had Derwin James ahead of him, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's fair. I think it's a little bit high for him. I think that's fair. Yeah. I would agree with you. Look, Eagle wise, just to swing it back to the Eagles here. To me, I think AJ's probably where he should be. But the Jalen thing, let's go back to that, because that is a really high level of respect from your peers to have him at 3. He's now ahead of Burrow and Allen and Herbert and all of those young guys, that group that he's in with. Mahomes is in a category of his own, but to be ahead of those guys, man, it's just, that's amazing.
And he vaults to that status at the tender age of 24.
Mm.
That shows
just turned 25. Just turned
25.
Yes.
Shows you the type. Well, he did it when he's 24.
True.
Right.
Very true.
He's 25 now.
Yep.
That just shows you the kind of respect, because when they play in the Super Bowl, everybody's watching.
Yep.
All the players are watching, and I guarantee you there were a number of players came away going, "Wow, okay, I knew Jalen Hurts was good, but wow,"
Mm-hmm.
And that says a lot about his character and the time and effort he put into perfecting his craft to make himself that much better. I would say eventually he's going to be number 1 on this list one day before his career is all said and done.
He's got a chance. The other thing is, I was looking at the Super Bowl numbers. You tend to forget some of this. He was 27 of 38, 304 yards. He threw a TD. He had a 71 completion percentage. He had a 103.4 passer rating. He ran 15 times for 70 yards and 3 touchdowns and a 2-point conversion. Yes, he had the big fumble. No denying it. But they're incredible. That's in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
You remember going into it there, because going into it, he didn't have to do a lot against San Fran. 15 for 25, 121 yards. Didn't have to do a lot against the Giants. 16 for 24, 154 yards. And the big talk was, is he going to be ready for the big stage?
Yeah. Yep.
And, did he ever answer that?
I know. And I can't wait to see how he follows up. When you have a marquee performance like that, the first thing is, man, I can't wait to see his next act. What else can this kid do? I'm excited to see, is there variations to his game? Is he adding something new to his repertoire? How will Brian Johnson, who's known him since he was a kid, utilize him differently from Shane Steichen? I can't wait to see what he does this year against better competition.
Yeah, no, that is going to be interesting in the areas of improvement for him as well. And what areas you're looking at here for him to get better at. And I think there are certain things, right? You can always get better going through your progressions, I think, is one of them. And that, maybe that allows you to hit your tertiary receiver, as they say, instead of taking off and running. I think that could be a big thing just to keep him out of harm's way a little bit. Just getting it out of your hand quicker in the pocket and he's been pretty good with that too. Yeah. I think those areas you can always still just recognition of what a defense is trying to do, because a lot of times they're going to show you something and then change it and go into something else. So I think that's also where he can get better. The natural ability is just, you can't teach it. Some of that innate ability to run and the ability to throw, and the preparation is going to be there, but they're the things he can get better.
I agree with you 100%, but sometimes you might have to protect Jalen from himself without taking away from his game, as crazy as that sounds. I would like to see him maybe have a little bit more of a Patrick Mahomes approach, in the sense that moving around to buy time with all the abundance of weapons he has, and that includes a running back in DeAndre Swift. Don't take off and run, man. Just stay back there. One of your guys is going to get free. With that offensive line blocking for you, eventually one of your guys is going to get free. You can go sideline to sideline, and you look at from your tight end to your 2,000 yards receivers to the back coming out of the backfield. Somebody's going to free yourself up. You have the wherewithal and the ability to sidestep a lot of pursuers. Just buy the time. Use your arm as much as you can and your legs less.
Well, that's where I think too, I agree with you. That is where Mahomes is so great, in that he will take off, and we saw it in the Super Bowl, but he's so good at buying time. It's one of the things that Mahomes talked about in the quarterback docuseries on Netflix. He studied Brady, not because Brady was as athletic as Patrick Mahomes, but because of the way he climbed the pocket, and he would do one side step this way or one step that way, and it bought enough time for him to be able to make whatever throw he needed to make. That's obviously another area. I thought it was interesting. Dallas Goedert mentioned that Hurts took this elaborate film study thing out to California with him to work. Did you see this?
No.
Let me see if I can find it. I'll pull it up. But yeah, Goddard was talking about it, and he said that when he went out to, I guess, visit Hurts in California where he was working out, he mentioned how he had this sort of funky kind of I don't even know what it was, for lack of a better word, film study thing, but it was almost real action, as opposed to just the old traditional way of doing it. For lack of a better word. Anyways, but I thought that was interesting. He's always trying to sort of take it to a different level and dig in a little bit more, which is very, very cool. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. Let me put it to you that way. Doesn't surprise me for this guy. All right, let's come back, and we are going into our 7 questions regarding the Eagles.
7 questions.
I'll give you a little teaser.
Man, you're full of questions today.
A lot of questions.
I have no answers.
It includes the issue. You better. We'll get some. It includes the Super Bowl. It includes what is acceptable for the offense, what is acceptable for the defense, Dallas Goedert numbers, rushing numbers, Jalen Hurts MVP, Hassan Reddick sack totals. Just a few, just to name a few. We will do all of that when we come back. Don't go anywhere. That's Derek. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Let's talk about Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, because look, figuring out your finances and investing the right way with your hard-earned money is critical. I mean, you don't want to work as hard as you work and look up and have very little to show for it, right? Especially later in life. So with Jim Murray and Principal Financial Group, you will be in the proper hands for your future and your present. Whether it's retirement planning, 401k review, insurance review, if you have a small business and you need help with your employee benefits, that's another resource that Jim can help you with. I know personally, I've entrusted my IRA, my 401k rollovers to Jim, and I couldn't be any happier. You will be too. Give him a call, 610-996-4751, 610-996-4751, or you could email him, Murray, MURRAY, .jim@principal.com. That's Murray.jim